immaginate che invece di creare un consorzio in cui c'è un'infrastruttura superiore che con un presidente, con un'organizzazione che cerca di fare azioni promozionali, immaginate al contrario. Cioè immaginate che ognuno mantiene la sua individualità e l'unione è back-end, perché c'è una blockchain dietro che organizza in maniera automatica delle gestioni. Ci hanno raccontato ieri, ed è stato veramente una sorta di shock, perché noi ancora ne parliamo, invece ci sono stati che ovviamente avanzano. Cioè ci hanno spiegato di un progetto in Germania che sta portando avanti la Deutsche Bank, e la Deutsche Bank dice ai miei clienti, io anche se sono Deutsche Bank posso vendergli prodotti di altre banche, perché nessuno vedrà che io sto vendendo prodotti di altre banche, perché il lavoro viene fatto back-end. Quindi il customer entra, il punto di contatto resta sempre la mia piattaforma, però io posso vendere prodotti di altri. Ma ancora più cross-selling, posso vendere biglietti aerei, posso vendere posso vendere tutta un'organizzazione di viaggio. E allora capite bene come c'è una rivoluzione in atto e le piattaforme saranno un po' ovviamente come dire, la nuova frontiera. Quindi questa del metaverso, o degli NFT, o anche delle cripto, ma non in un'ottica di trading, perché su questo ovviamente c'è tutto un altro mondo, ma delle cripto usate per favorire gli scambi. Qui secondo me si gioca davvero una partita importante del futuro, e abbiamo già visto come c'è tutto un mondo di designer, di imprese che sta investendo in questa integrazione fortissima, che porterà ovviamente tutte le aziende ad una nuova dimensione. Allora io dovevo appunto solo questa brevissima introduzione al mondo diciamo del metaverso, del Web3, e quindi a questo punto passo la parola a Carlos, che ovviamente parlerà in inglese, quindi io gli ho chiesto di renderla quanto più semplice possibile e darci appunto alcune indicazioni di scenario rispetto a questo, che è sicuramente un'innovazione, però appunto noi dobbiamo un po' decidere se essere pionieri sotto certi aspetti o se essere follower, e siccome noi qui abbiamo deciso con Murgiavalli appunto di essere pionieri, sappiamo che spesso appunto i pionieri anche muoiono, ma sicuramente restano nella storia, quindi non sarà il nostro caso, ma quindi grazie, passo la parola a Carlo.
Grazie Italia, grazie a tutti. My name is Carlos Matz. I am from Honduras, that's where Antonio and I met. And I've been working in technology and in art for the past 18 years. And I'm an artist, technologist, designer, and futurist. And I've done, in my 18 years, a lot of stuff, thankfully. And this is my website, carlosmatz.com. The photographs in the back are part of the photographs that I've taken around the world. And I've done a lot of stuff, from virtual reality to film to festivals, exhibitions, events, lectures. I give lectures around the world about technology, about art, and entrepreneurship, right? Since I've been an entrepreneur for 18 years, and I'm self-taught. So everything that I've done, I've learned from the internet. So I give talks around the world about basically chasing your dreams via your own means and learning what you love to do by yourself and not waiting for anybody to teach it to you. And as such, I have created a lot of projects in the arts and technology scene. And my first company is called Schematic. And we have done from movies to expositions to photography to installations to everything. And now I have another company called ICA, which is our vision of the future of work. And I'm going to give a demo of ICA at the end of the talk. But right now, I'm going to give you context so that you understand where ICA fits in the future of the internet, because it is the future of work and the future of the internet is the metaverse. So today, we're going to be talking about the metaverse. As I said, this is me. This is my handle, Carlos Matz, @CarlosMatz. I'm the founder, CEO, and designer of ICA. And we're going to be talking about the metaverse. Who here has heard about the metaverse? You have heard about the metaverse, and not many people have heard about the metaverse. It's super new. It's a super new term. it was made even more popular last year because Facebook changed its name from Facebook to Meta, and we're not very happy about that. We're not very happy because this guy, Mark Zuckerberg, is hijacking the term, basically. He's brilliant CEO, but we don't like his privacy policies, but that's another story. The metaverse is the next iteration of the internet. It is the new internet. The internet that we have now is the internet 2.0. The internet 3.0 is what we call the metaverse. And to give you a little bit of context about what this new internet is all about, is that right now we use the internet on your devices, on your screens, right? But eventually, we're going to be using it with our augmented reality glasses and our virtual reality glasses. And it's going to be an immersive internet. We're going to be living in virtual worlds that are either a mix of real and virtual or fully virtual. So to give you a little bit of context, this is a film called Ready Player One. Has anybody seen this film, Ready Player One? Yeah? Have you seen it? So it's a film that's based on a book, and it gives the best representation of the metaverse that we have right now. So I'm going to put a trailer so that you have a little bit of context about what we're going to be talking about.
Nowhere except the oasis. A whole virtual universe.
Let me take you on a trip around the world and back.
People come to the oasis for all the things they can do.
And you won't have to wait to sit still.
But they stay because of all the things they can be.
Can you feel this?
Let me show you the world.
Yeah. It's the only place that feels like I mean anything.
So this is science fiction, right? But if you think about it, many of the things that we have right now used to be science fiction. The iPad, the tablets that we have appeared in Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. Google Maps it's a miracle of humanity. Like we can pinpoint our location anywhere on the globe via global positioning system, and we take it for granted. But if you had told anybody 30 or 40 years ago that we have Google Maps, they would have not believed you. Just like these virtual worlds are sci-fi right now, but we are actually experiencing that transition into that new world today. And the next 18 months we're gonna have a lot of new innovations, and the next 5 years we're gonna be more immersed, and by the end of the decade we're gonna start feeling like, okay, this is happening, and in the 2030s we're gonna be fully immersed in the metaverse. So that's the context. A shared, persistent, collective 3D virtual space is the next iteration of the internet, the next version of the internet. And to give you context of what the metaverse is all about, it's actually made of 4 different technologies that converge together, right? So we have the presentation layer, how data is presented, right? And that we have virtual reality and augmented reality. The data is in our headsets. We have the operations layer, how everything is going to operate. Right now, artificial intelligence is more advanced than you can imagine. And it can automate and produce any type of, it can recognize any pattern and produce any type of data. So all the operations are gonna be made and decided on by AI. The economics of the metaverse are gonna be based on blockchain. And not only the economics, but the security of your data, the privacy of your data is gonna be based in blockchain. And since we're gonna be living in virtual worlds, we're gonna need a lot of bandwidth, way more bandwidth than we use right now. And in order to do that, we're going to need ultra-speed internet, right? So I'm talking about 6G and Starlink and 5G. So in context, this is basically what we're going to be talking about in this presentation. I'm going to be going one technology by one, and I'm going to explain bit by bit how everything fits together, and it creates the new version of the internet. So, let's start with augmented reality and virtual reality. That is how we're going to be experiencing the data. That is the presentation layer of the metaverse. So, virtual reality and augmented reality, and it's a spectrum of immersion. Right now, we are in base reality, or what we think is base reality. As we go forward, we go into virtual reality, which is a headset that completely blocks your reality, your current reality, and you are in a virtual world completely. But in the middle, we have augmented reality, which is your base reality, but with holograms around you, right? With data superimposed over your reality. And everything is going to be accessed through headsets or, spectacles that are going to replace the phone. The smartphone is going to go away. And the main driver, actually, not only the smartphone, but all screens are going to go away. We're not going to be using screens. We're going to be thinking about screens really archaic, just like cord phones in back in the day. And everything is going to be accessed via our glasses. Do you remember back in the 80s, the very first cell phones, the Motorola big bricks that we used to have, that used to be super big, and we used to carry them and talk to them like that? They look ridiculous now, right? Just like the headsets of today are big and bulky, but eventually we're going to go to your spectacles. They're going to be fashionable. They're going to be cool to wear them. Just like it's cool to wear the AirPods now. And at first they looked weird, but now it's like a fashion statement. Every company, every technology company on Earth is investing in the metaverse. Is investing not only in hardware, but in software. Oculus, which was bought by Facebook, they are the pioneers of this entire consumer virtual reality world, because virtual reality as a field has been in research and development for decades. We have Oculus, we have Google, we have Sony with their Sony PlayStation VR, Microsoft with their HoloLens. Everybody's racing to create the perfect, lightweight headset. And I'm not talking about the future right now. Augmented reality and virtual reality are given value today, especially in enterprise, right? So General Electric use augmented reality headsets to process their warehouse orders. The warehouse worker receives the orders in their headsets, and they don't have to go through paper or phones. That is obsolete for them. They only receive the orders on the augmented reality headsets, and they know exactly where to go in the warehouse to actually pick up the item and process it. They don't have to go to any paper, nor phones, nor talk to anybody. And just by using that technology, it makes them 46% faster. Another example is that General Electric use augmented reality for their wind turbine technicians. The technicians have to service the cables and all the components of the wind turbines, and they used to do it with manuals, right? And paper, and check out if what the manual says is what they're doing correctly. All that is obsolete for them now. All they do is that with the augmented reality glasses, they're looking at the cable box, and the augmented reality glasses are telling them exactly where each cable goes. And if the cable is disconnected or connected in the wrong place, it tells them exactly how they have to perform. And that makes us 34% faster. That is today. This is not the future. This is happening today. So value in enterprise is being given by this new technology. Virtual reality, in training education, it's a miracle, because you absorb way more information when you are in a virtual world, because you don't think you are in a virtual world. You think you are in the real world. When you are immersed in virtual reality, everything else, the suspension of disbelief is so hard, so good, that you forget that you're in base reality. Who here has used virtual reality? Have you used it? Yeah, so when you use, I really if you can find a way to get virtual reality glasses, I really recommend you to do so because it feels like magic. In training, it is a great tool because you have perceptual fidelity. Like the controller, your hands move exactly how you expect them to. You can repeat the situation as many times as you like in optimal training frequency. And you can not only repeat the situation over and over, but the technology itself can monitor your progress. It can actually tell you if you're doing things right or doing things wrong in real time, right? So you don't need a professor, you know, or a trainee to actually be training you. You can be training from wherever at any time, and that actually makes you retain information a lot faster and better as compared to whether you are in a lecture hall or reading a book. That's about 9 to 13% retention, but with virtual reality, you have 75% retention, which is huge of information, retention of information. And it is 99% recommended by users because you don't think you're in training, you think you're playing a video game, and everybody loves it. And this is today. This is not the future. This is happening today. Of course, we have entertainment. Yes, virtual reality is full of games. I tried this game, Mario Kart VR in Japan, and it was incredible. Like, I've been a Super Mario Brothers fan since I'm little, and when I tried this, I actually felt like I was inside of, Mushroom Kingdom, and I was racing against Mario Brothers and Luigi. It was amazing. Room scale VR, I did this one too in New York City. Room scale VR is great because the first version of virtual reality, you couldn't get up and walk. It only had 3 degrees of freedom, which means like looking up, down, left, right, and front and back. But you cannot get up and walk. And now you can do that. That is called room scale VR. So we actually have that there. I tried this, and you go into a mission. You fight against Darth Vader. You feel the heat from the lava. You're walking around this virtual world. It is so immersive that you forget that you are on Earth. It's magical. But it's not only training, it's not only entertainment, it's not only enterprise. We are using virtual reality in a very special way because it actually puts you in the position of somebody else. This beast of a filmmaker is called Alejandro Iñárritu. He is from Mexico. And he created this virtual reality experience that actually puts you in the position of a migrant person crossing the border from Mexico to the United States. And that's what hundreds of thousands of people do every year, sadly, because they are looking for better opportunities. And when they do that, it's super dangerous. And they are chased by the police. They are put in these very anxious and dangerous situations. And the best way to actually experience and empathize with people that don't have the same opportunities like we do is to actually put ourselves in their position. And there's no better way to put yourself in their position than to actually experience exactly what those people go through. So Alejandro Iñárritu created this experience of this migrant person crossing the border, and you can actually feel all the fear and anxiety that person felt going through the border. So it actually makes you empathize and, want to help, right? When you feel empathize, you actually want to help and to change the situation. So his experience was called Carne y Arena, flesh and sand. And it is so groundbreaking that a special Oscar was created just for him, right? In recognition of a visionary and powerful experience in storytelling. The only time that this Oscar was given before, it was given to Pixar, because they revolutionized 3D graphics for filmmaking. That was the only time that this Oscar was given to, and it was given to a company. Now, they created it again just to give it to him, because it was so powerful. So virtual reality, as I said, is a medium to transmit empathy. Check this out. Augmented reality glasses are coming. They are going to change the world. Google used to have Google Glasses, then they stopped it, and then everybody went ahead of them, and now they're starting again. Apple is going to come out with their augmented reality glasses or virtual reality glasses in the next 18 to 24 months, and we all know what happens when Apple gets into the market. I'm going to show you a demo of what they're working on right now, and we always need killer apps for killer hardware, and I do believe that this is a killer app. Check it out.
You should be seeing what I'm saying, just transcribed for you in real time, kind of like subtitles for the world.
What we're working on is technology that enables us to break down language barriers, taking years of research in Google Translate and bringing that to glasses.
Do you see me? Oh, sí, sí te veo. I'm actually looking straight into your eyes, and it seems like you're looking right at me.
Oh, sí, sí, estoy viendo lo que está diciendo para ayudarte.
Can you imagine living in that world? This is going to happen very, very soon. This was just shared in the last month by Google. So this is a killer application. You can go anywhere in the world and communicate with anybody in real-time subtitles. I'm actually, like, my hairs are raising right now because this is so powerful. XR means everything R. Augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality. This whole market is exploding. It's just started because the consumer virtual reality market has been in research and development for so long that we are reaching a tipping point now. And it is expected that by 2025, it reaches a $400 billion market. But the metaverse itself, since it's the new internet, is going to reach trillions in value, just like the current internet is made of trillions in value. What's coming in software? Facebook are making their own virtual worlds. Of course, Apple is working on their, headsets. This is not the form factor that we're going to have soon, but this is what we're going to have in a decade, close to a decade. At first, they're going to be bulky, just like big, just like the Motorola's were in the 80s. But eventually, we're going to come to this form factor, and screens are just going to disappear. And it's not only hardware that is advancing at a breakneck speed. It's actually the software that operates that hardware that is actually advancing a lot. To give you context, virtual worlds are created by polygons. The more polygons you have in a scene, the more processing power you need to, render those virtual worlds in real time. So you can have ultra detailed worlds, but you're going to need a very powerful computer to render them. This is changing because these guys, Epic, they created an Unreal Engine 5, which is a revolution of virtual world processing. Basically, what they're claiming to have done, and I have tried it, and they succeeded, is infinite resolution. You can have any object with any type of intricacy, like you can zoom in and see every detail, and you can zoom out into space and you see every detail of every world, and it has infinite resolution just like the world, right? So we thought that we would be hitting this point in the next 10 years. We're there already. And what's coming? I'm going to show you a video right now. Of course, we're talking about headsets that we put in front of our eyes, right? But vision, it doesn't happen on our eyes. Vision happens on our brain. So there's this company called Neurolink that was founded by Elon Musk that basically puts a chip on your brain, and it can read, and eventually you could be able to write. And let me show you a video to show you the power of this technology. So,
region modulate their activity with intended hand movement.
So to give you an example, this monkey has a chip on his brain, has a Neuralink, and is playing a game, right? Playing a game that this little dot has to touch this square right here, and every time it does, he receives a prize of a smoothie of a banana, and he's controlling it with the joystick. But actually, he's not controlling it with the joystick. He's controlling it with his mind. Check it out. So you're controlling it, all good. But then, all of a sudden, you see the joystick is disconnected. And still, this little dude is playing. Check it out.
To move the cursor instead of the joystick. Paige still moves the joystick out of habit, but as you can see, it's unplugged. He's controlling the cursor entirely with decoded neural activity.
Can you believe
Our
that?
goal is to enable a person with paralysis to use a computer or phone with their brain activity alone.
And eventually, they removed the
Favorite
joystick.
video game, Pong.
There's
To
no
control
joystick
his
anymore.
paddle on the right side of the screen, Pager simply thinks about moving his hand up or down. We've removed the joystick altogether. Now that he's up to speed, let's increase the difficulty and see how well Pager can play with the Neurolink.
We actually have telepathy now. This used to be science fiction, now it's becoming science fact. This is where the state of the art in neurology is right now. So eventually we're going to be representing virtual worlds only by thinking them, right? So that was virtual reality and augmented reality. Now we go to artificial intelligence, right? Artificial intelligence is the operations layer of the metaverse, right? The brain is the most complex known object in the known universe. We know more about black holes than we know about the brain. A neuroscientist would tell you that if the full extent of knowledge that we can have about the brain is a kilometer, we only know about 1 centimeter. So it is very mysterious. This matter that we have between our ears is super mysterious, but what we know is that it is made by neurons, right? And dendrites connect those neurons. And synapses are the actual information that is transmitted between the cells, right? So how we think is basically just 3 things. We have inbound data via our senses, our eyes, and our touch, and our sense of taste and smell and hearing, and we process that data with our neural flesh, and we output either actions or behaviors. Inbound, process, outbound, unbound. And artificial neural networks, they mimic how the brains of nature process information. So we have taken that information and make it artificial, and basically computers can learn by themselves now. They can learn any concept by themselves. So they have, just like living things and conscious things, they have input layer, they have hidden neurons that process the information, and we have output layers, right? Basically, an example is if we have a self-driving car and we want the car to learn the concept of a motorcycle because we don't want it to crash the motorcycles, right? So in the advent of the internet, we have billions and trillions of images and videos of motorcycles that we feed the neural network, and we say, learn what a motorcycle is. We don't actually describe it. We just throw a lot of information at it, and it by itself recognizes the patterns. Us humans, our brains are the best pattern recognition machines ever created. And we have created artificial pattern recognition machines via deep neural networks. So it by itself recognizes the patterns that create what a motorcycle concept is. It recognizes that it has wheels, it has a seat, it has the spokes. So whenever it recognizes several of these different sub-concepts, it can actually tell you whether or not the image you're seeing is a motorcycle or not. So it learns by itself. And I'm sure that you have seen this CAPTCHA. Has anybody gotten this CAPTCHA? Right? So when you actually select the motorcycles, you are helping to train a deep neural network. So you yourself are validating whether or not the neural network is doing its job correctly or not, right? So Imagine how many people a day receive this CAPTCHA around the world. So that makes the neural network learn faster. So that's, in a nutshell, what artificial intelligence is. Let me see if I have this. Let me see. Okay. There's this test called the Turing test. Alan Turing is the father of computation. There's this test that it is applied to computers that if the computer can fool a human that it is not talking to a computer, the computer passed the Turing test. And up until 2018, we hadn't actually achieved that. But now we did. Check it out. This is Google Duplex, and this is an actual computer understanding speech, intonation, and cadence to actually call a restaurant to make reservations, and the person in the other side of the line, they don't know whether or not they're talking to a human. Check this out.
So what you're going to hear is the Google Assistant actually calling a real salon to schedule the appointment for you. Let's listen.
How can I help you? Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd. Sure, give me 1 second.
Remember, this is not a human. This is a computer talking to a human, but the human doesn't know that he's talking to a computer.
Sure, what time are you looking for around? At 12 p.m. We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15. Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.? Depending on what service she would like. What service is she looking for? Just a woman's haircut for now. Okay, we have a 10 o'clock. 10 a.m. is fine. Okay, what's her first name? The first name is Lisa. Okay, perfect. So I will see Lisa at 10 o'clock on May 3rd. Okay, great. Thanks. Great. Have a great day. Bye.
That human was not aware that it was not talking to another human. And it can actually work with accents. Check this out.
You?
Hi, I'd like to reserve a table for Wednesday the 7th.
For 7 people?
It's for 4 people.
4 people when?
Next Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Oh, actually we reserve for after 5 people. For 4 people you can come.
How long is the wait usually to...
Can you hear the accent? The accent of this Asian person? Like, it's talking in a different kind of English, and still it understands what he's saying. And this artificial intelligence is going, okay, just like a human would, right? They understand the concept of human speech just by learning it by itself.
Be seated.
When, tomorrow or weekday or?
For next Wednesday, the 7th.
Oh, no, it's not too busy. You can come for 4 people, okay?
Oh, I gotcha. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
That's artificial intelligence. So the Turing test was passed. The Turing test is a thing of the past, basically. Let me give you another example, maybe. Let me check. Yeah, we can create meta-humans now.
主人公にだってなれる.
Je pourrais être architecte.
Ou guide.
Quizá un artista.
You create the narrative.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Artificial intelligence doesn't like that we're talking about it. A ver, is everything okay? I think it's fine. I think it's fine now. Okay, let's continue. So basically, that we've talked about virtual reality and augmented reality, and we talked about AI. Now we're talking about blockchain. Everything comes together to create the metaverse. So blockchain is going to be the economic layer of the metaverse. And not only the economic layer, but the privacy layer of the metaverse and the data ownership layer of the metaverse. What we have right now is that we have Web 2.0 that is basically controlled by 5 different companies that own all your data, and you have no privacy. In Web 1.0, we did not have trackers, but it wasn't as interactive. Now we have a very interactive web, but we have no privacy. So we're on the Web 3.0, we're going to go back to the basics. We're going to go back to privacy, back to no tracking, back to data ownership. And all that is going to be based on this miracle technology called blockchain. So that's the third component of the metaverse, blockchain. The blockchain is a technology that was invented 12 years ago by this mysterious figure that nobody knows who he or she or they are. Nobody knows. What we know is it's called Satoshi Nakamoto. It was created after the 2008 financial world crisis, and this person, we don't know who he or she or they are, they realized that in order for humanity to transcend, we would have to end centralization, because centralized entities can be corrupted. And we know what happens when we rely on centralized governments and centralized banks. Humans are flawed, right? So how about we offload those responsibilities to actual processing power and the immutable power of mathematics and technology? And that's why he created this cryptographic miracle of decentralization and transparency and a consensus mechanism that does not need humans at all. And that is called the blockchain. So the blockchain is basically just a database. Just a database of entries, right? What is special about this database is that it's completely decentralized. We don't have a centralized location where this database lives. It's just distributed across the entire network. So anybody and everybody can see every transaction, right? And in order to a bad actor to change a register in the blockchain, they would have to have 51% of the entire processing power of the entire network in order to do so. So to disincentivize bad actors to actually validate each transaction, you need a lot of power. So that the mechanism is called proof of work. And there's another mechanism called proof of stake that we're transitioning into. But this way, you can ensure that the entire network has a consensus mechanism that everybody agrees what is the ground truth, is completely transparent, and you don't need a centralized entity to actually validate any of the transactions. So this mysterious figure created this miracle technology and just disappeared from the world. Like, I mean, reality is stranger than fiction. We don't know where this figure is, but he gave us this beautiful technology that has created a lot of value. He has created, we all know about cryptocurrency, that basically they're ushering a new value system, right? Monetary value, like currency, comes from divisibility and portability and scarcity, right? Those are 3 of the most important components of a monetary tool for either transacting value or as a store of value. And through the blockchain, we have created cryptocurrencies that actually achieve all those characteristics in a digital, decentralized way. Bitcoin is called the digital gold. In these 12 years that we have been using this technology, there has not been any exploit or any flaw of this technology. It's incredible. And Ethereum, it has a different goal that is a distributed computing platform. It's just like a computer that doesn't have a central processing unit. It has a decentralized processing unit. So you can create applications on top of that infrastructure that are decentralized applications that run autonomously, right? So, and not only it has created all that, but it has created digital scarcity that did not exist before. Before, we could copy a file zillions of times and we would say that all of them were the original, right? But now, we have a way to actually have a certificate of authenticity of that one single file is the only authentic original file, and we can create scarcity out of a digital asset now. That did not exist before. And as such, the more scarce something is, us humans tend to assign value to it. So that's what non-fungible tokens are. Who has heard about NFTs? I would think everybody has heard about NFTs now, right? So we have created digital scarcity with digital certificates of authenticity, which create digital ownership of digital assets. And NFTs have been exploded for the past two years. Even the NBA has gone into the action. Now you can buy a LeBron James dunk. You can buy a Zion Williamson's block or a Giannis Antetokounmpo dunk, right? But you can say, I can have that file. You know, I can just have that video, right? But if you think about it, the Mona Lisa is non-fungible. Fungible means interchangeable, non-interchangeable token. The Mona Lisa cannot be interchangeable to other Mona Lisa because there's no other Mona Lisa, right? Right? So and currency is fungible. If I give you one euro and you give me back €1, we can interchange it, right? But this is non-fungible. It is non-interchangeable. So in the same, vein, you can ask, okay, but I can have that file. I can just take a screenshot of it. But at the same time, if you take a picture of the Mona Lisa, does that mean that you own the Mona Lisa? No, right? There's only one Mona Lisa, right? So that's the whole digital scarcity invention. We can create digital scarcity with digital ownership of digital assets now. That did not exist before blockchain. This is completely new invention. This guy, Beeple, I'm a big fan of his for the past 10 years. He is the greatest digital artist that lives right now. Does anybody know about Banksy, about the street artist? This guy, Banksy is the biggest, largest street artist ever in the world. This guy is the biggest, largest digital artist in the world. So I'm so happy that it's him because I've been a fan of his for so long. He has been creating an artwork a day for the past 13 years. And he just found out about NFTs. Somebody told him, hey, you should actually make an NFT out of your art. He's like, nah. But no, you should actually must do it. He created an NFT, which was a collection of all the 13 years of all his art, which is this one. It's called The First 5,000 Days. And it sold for $69 million because it is unique, right? $69 million. And he's actually the third most expensive artwork by a living artist right now. And it was bought by this shadow figure called Metacoven. Now we know who Metacoven is, but back in the day he was anonymous. And he's creating a Metaverse museum that you can display NFTs in this virtual world. So, as I told you, this file, we're looking at it right now, but it's not the original. This person has the original, and it's worth $69 million. So that is blockchain, right? Now we're going to the transport layer of the metaverse. Since we are going to be using way more data now, way more information are going to be flowing through the pipes, we need way more bandwidth. And in order to do so, we're going to need ultra-speed internet. Starlink is this company founded by Elon Musk as well, and is basically space-based internet. It's internet that doesn't need ground infrastructure. You only need a receiver, an antenna that it is very small. You just connect it to power, connect it to the router, and you have internet. You don't need any type of huge cable infrastructure because actually the internet that we have right now is just based out of like 7 intercontinental cables, right, that transmit all the data in the world. And from those 7 huge main cables, it goes from station to another station, but if those 7 cables are severed, we're done for, right? But if you have a collection of satellites on space, you can actually mitigate that risk, and check it out.
Orbit viewer from Celesttrack.com, and every single dot here represents a Starlink satellite. Now most of these are in their final orbits, and if you look at them you can sort of see these vertical lines running up and down, and they more or less alternate with one group going up and then an adjacent group going down, and so on.
All those are satellites. This guy Elon Musk has its own space launcher company, so he created its own satellites to beam down internet from space, and it is already faster than any internet service provider on Earth, basically, and it reaches regions that service providers don't, like remote regions that used to pay thousands of dollars for really low speed internet. Now they can have really high speed internet for affordable prices. Basically, we can get 1 gigabyte per second with Starlink now, and it's just the first version. Actually, they're in private beta right now, and they're rolling it out by 22, 23. It actually played a big role on the Ukraine war. Like, Russia was bombing the communication centers of Ukraine, and then Elon Musk provided them with Starlink bases, and now they have internet again. It was actually like a turning point in the war, right? And because they don't need ground infrastructure, all they need is satellites. We're gonna have 6G, of course, which is 1,000 times faster than 5G, like a terabyte per second. We might have that in 2030, which is enough to actually give us enough bandwidth to the first version of the Metaverse. And to wrap everything up in the theory, just like the internet and the technology world that we have right now, it is made of standards, right? The Metaverse, the standards of the Metaverse are being worked on right now, are being developed. We are super early, super early. It's like, imagine if the internet was, was being born again, and we are in the 80s, right? So the standards of the internet back then were not super fleshed out, but the current standards that we have right now is JPEG, MP4, SMS. The actual protocol of the internet is TCP/IP. That is the invention of the internet by Vinton Cerf and his name escapes me. I'm really sorry for that. But the inventor of the internet created that protocol, TCP/IP. And it's actually, the way the internet works is that we have different terminals. And this terminal wants to transmit a message to the other terminal. So it has a message, and that message is cut up into little pieces, and each piece is transmitted one by one by a line, and at the other end, this terminal collects all those pieces and recreates the message, and that is how the entire internet works. That is TCP/IP. That is the standard of the internet. The standards of the Metaverse are being developed right now. We're super early. So the standards of concurrency infrastructure, like in the Metaverse, like it has to work just like real life. Everybody can be in the same space at the same time without any cap. Right now, we don't have concurrency infrastructure. We don't have a standard of visual representation, of file loading, of interoperability. All these things are being actively developed by research and by researchers. The pillars of the Metaverse, it has to be persistent, just like real life is persistent, just like the internet is persistent. It never resets or pauses or ends. It's not like you try to go to a website at night and the website doesn't connect. No, the internet just goes on indefinitely, right? It has to be synchronous and live, which means that everybody has to be experiencing everything in real time. A living experience that exists consistently for everybody in real time. It has to not have a user cap. Right now, there are events in the metaverse, but since the concurrency infrastructures, it has not been fully developed, so we have a user cap, right? Of course, we have concerts in the metaverse of millions of people, but that doesn't mean that the million people are at the same time in the same event. They are actually caught off in little, packets of 100,000 and 100,000, and each one of those groups have a little different experience because they're not at the same time. They're not synchronous. There's a little lag between them. So we haven't developed the concurrency infrastructure yet, but eventually when we do, we won't have any user cap, and we won't have any type of lag. And of course, just like the internet itself is a fully functioning economy, it will create a wide range of work, just like the internet created work, and that produces a lot of value that is recognized by others. Just, if you think about it, there's a job description called social media manager, right? Could you have imagined that position without the internet existing? No, right? Like, you cannot imagine that. We cannot imagine the type of work that the metaverse is going to create. Right now, we're in an explosion of value that is being created. New types of work are going to be invented. New types of services are going to be invented. The huge applications that we have right now, Uber, Airbnb, Twitter, all those are Google, are less than 20 years old. Some of them are less than 10 years old, and they're dominating the world. The new internet is going to create a whole lot of new companies that are going to dominate the world in a different way, in an immersive way in the coming decades. It has to be fully interoperable, right? Like, if every object that I have, that I own in the metaverse is going to be an NFT, and ideally, right? And that NFT can be transported between virtual worlds, not like happens today. Like, if you have an object inside a walled garden and an app in iOS, you cannot use that same iOS app in Android, right? It's not interoperable. But the metaverse has to be interoperable, because that's one of the definitions. That's the ideal that we're striving for. And all this is developing right now. We are the early stages of it. The metaverse is already here. Metaverse events are already happening. Virtual reality is already giving value. In the next 24 months, we're going to see a lot of innovation coming from big companies like Google and Apple, and of course Facebook, which is the biggest investor in this technology. And all this is going to be developed in the next 18 months, 5 years, 10 years, 10, 30, 40 years. So this is the birth of a new internet, right? And in a nutshell, that is the theory of what the metaverse will bring. And I'm going to show you the practice. I showed you the theory, right? So my company is called ICA. We are a metaverse-ready productivity platform. We are thinking about how the future of work is going to look like, right? How actually we're going to be working in the future. And just like the sci-fi world, we are thinking, okay, maybe the sci-fi world is going to look a little bit like Iron Man's Jarvis, right? Just like sci-fi. Like, right now we have these convoluted interfaces that were invented in the 90s, and we actually believe that sci-fi informs the development and engineering of new technologies. And that is why we have created ICA. And let me give you a little demo of ICA. If you want early access to ICA, if you want to try ICA for us, please go to ICA.ai, and there's a small form there that you can subscribe to actually be part of our beta testers, because we need a lot of beta testers to actually try the product and tell us if it actually works for you, to give us all the feedback we can get. Brutal feedback, not nice feedback, because brutal feedback actually results in change. So we want all the brutal feedback that we can get. You can go to ICA.ai, you can scan this QR code, subscribe, and you can have early access. And this is me, Carlos Matz. This is my handle, @CarlosMatz, everywhere. You can find me in Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm everywhere. And this was the Metaverse. And thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Carlos.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Come diciamo è chiarissimo davvero l'integrazione di più tecnologie produce ovviamente un'accelerazione pazzesca in termini di processi, in termini di possibilità di utilizzo e innovazione. Quindi davvero grazie per questa presentazione e insomma resteremo sicuramente in contatto perché queste nuove tecnologie non sappiamo ancora dove ci porteranno, ma sicuramente produrranno una grande innovazione. Grazie, grazie Carlo.
Grazie a tutti. Grazie Italia.
So se
Muchas
c'è
gracias.
qualcuno che vuole fare qualche domanda. Ah, sì, allora vai.
Can you explain again shortly what's AR?
Oh, AR is augmented reality. If you're teaching them about volcanoes, you can have an animation of a volcano exploding in the distance, and you can see the magma behind it, underneath it, in augmented reality, all interactive. So I believe that augmented reality is going to be actual the killer app.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah, absolutely. All that, yeah, the screens are going to go away in the next 8 to 15 years. Correct. Yeah. Anybody has another question?
Ok.
Estamos bien.
Thank you.
Ok, grazie,
Thank you,
grazie mille.
Grazie.
Grazie.